Welcome to Fire Engineering's Training Minutes. My name is Rex Morris. I'm a captain in the FDNY. Today we're going to talk about Untitled Lock. Untitled Lock is basically a forcible entry technique that you're going to use when speed is not a factor. Also when you're worried about damage, because it'll allow you to get into places without creating a tremendous amount of damage, just pulling out a lock cylinder and manipulating the lock. The way we're going to go about taking out this lock cylinder, there are several ways, but today we're going to talk about using the K-tool. Okay, K-tool is called the K-tool basically because of the shape of the blades that are inside. And these blades have a certain function. When you use this tool, you're basically going to slide this K-tool over your lock cylinder. This flat blade should be towards the jamb. If you do it the other way around, this beveled blade could actually push the tool into the jamb and stop it from cutting into your cylinder. Okay, so just be sure that you use your straight blade against your door jamb. So basically, most cylinders are made of a softer material, brass or bronze. These are hardened steel. So what we're going to do here is we're going to drive this K-tool over the cylinder, and it could be a one or a two-man operation. If it's a two-man operation, okay, the adze end of the Halligan is going to go through the handle of the K-tool, and it's now driven down over the cylinder. If you're by yourself, basically place the K-tool over the cylinder. Okay, you're going to drive it. Drive it down over your cylinder. At this point, drop your adze end through, and you're going to pull up on your cylinder. As you can see, cylinder came right out, and it's stuck into the K-tool. So we already went over how to take the cylinder out. Now we have to deal with what type of lock do I have. When you see a lock setup on a door, and generally it's around where the knob and key is, it's usually going to be a Mortise lock. A Mortise lock is a lock that is basically stuck into the door. Okay, they put the lock into a mortise in the door. So it's a particular type of lock. It's very common. But one quick way I could tell, whenever I pull a cylinder out, I always look at the back of it. If you look at the back of your cylinder and you see this shape, it's called a cam. This cam, what it does is when the key goes into the keyway, the cam manipulates the lock. So this actually moves. If I was to pull out the cylinder and I saw a stem, then I would know it was a different type of lock, maybe a rim lock. But today we're going to talk about the Mortise. So once I pull out my lock cylinder, I look at this as the face of a clock. In other words, wherever my keyway was is 6. Okay, so right above would be 12. 3, 9. So what I'm going to do is right away, I'm going to stick my fingers in and try to locate the bolt. It's either going to be at the 7 o'clock or the 5 o'clock. So I'm going to put my finger in there and try to manipulate the bolt, and there you have it. Okay, I found it at the 7, so I'm going to go from 7 to 5. Or if I found it at 5, I'd go 5 to 7. And that's going to unlock your Mortise lock. Okay? If it's a little stiff, then I could use a thing called a key tool, and you'll find this in your K-tool set. All right, this end again is for the Mortise lock because it's the shape almost of a cam. If I was to have a rim lock, then I'd be using this end, but again, we're talking about Mortise locks. So same thing, I would stick this in, okay, and manipulate the lock. All right, talking about Mortise locks, if you take a look right here, this is a typical Mortise lock that we see in the apartment buildings in New York City. It has a pretty long deadbolt as well as a slam lock. So it's kind of a two-part lock. Earlier I talked about going to 5 to 7, 7 to 5. In other words, this was the face of a clock. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from 5 to 7 or from 7 to 5, but there's a secondary lock involved. And again, I don't have any, I'm using ungloved hands so I could feel around inside. If I can't find it or if it's jammed up, then I might go to my key tool. So I come up to this lock, it's locked. I'm going to feel around, okay, feel the bolt. So I'm going to go from 5 to 7, all right? But a lot of people mess up with this because they think, okay, it's not opening. They forget about the slam lock. So wherever you found it in a lock position, I found it at 5 o'clock. Now I go to 3 o'clock and it hits my slam lock. So it's a two-part lock. This is spring loaded. So as soon as you let go, it's going to pop out again. So let me just do that one more time. Okay, I found it locked in the 5 o'clock position, so I'm going to go from 5 to 7. Deadbolt's out of the way. Now I got to go back to 3 o'clock and door's unlocked.
And action.
Another consideration is using your key tool. A lot of times when you pull your lock cylinder out, it's not always 100% that you're going to get this lock. Sometimes when you pull out your lock cylinder, sometimes a piece of the body of the lock may fall down into some of the parts and it might be hard or impossible to manipulate that lock. But if I try it with my finger and it feels a little jammed up, now I'm going to go to my key tool. So we're going to do the same thing with the key tool. I'm going to go over to the 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I'm going to feel around. Okay, I went from 5 to 7. But again, my lock is still engaged because the slam lock hasn't been manipulated yet. So I'll go to 3 o'clock now and unlock. All right, so if you have a hard time doing it with your finger, grab the key tool, and again, 5 to 7 or 7 to 5, and then go back to the 3 o'clock position, or if you found it at the 7, you go to the 9 o'clock position to get your slam lock open. I'm Rex Morris. Thanks for watching Training Minutes.